Hi guys, this is Vivian Reed and welcome to my channel. Now, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like. And you know we always like nice comments, say nice things. Okay, the gentleman that I have with me today, I love great performers and he fits the bill in every way. This is why I wanted to have a conversation with him because he is just simply dynamic on the stage. He's a singer, an actor, a dancer, a writer, a producer, a director. He wears all of these hats and Lord, he wears them well. He's done shows like Pippin, Once on This Island, Anything Goes, and several others. But the one that he created, oh Lord, it's a show called Mighty Real, based on the life of Sylvester. And you just have to see it to believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Anthony Wayne. How you doing, Anthony?
Hey, I'm fabulous. It's so good to see you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's such a joy. So thank you for this opportunity. And hi, everybody.
Yes. Anthony, there are a few, many people can get on the stage and have great performances and really deal into their lyrics, get into their lyrics and communicate with an audience. But you have that extra thing that's called the it factor. And not everyone is blessed with that, but you have that in spades. First of all, let's talk about you, the writer and creator of Mighty Real. What made you want to do this? Is it something that you felt, you know what? If I don't do for myself, who else will? Was it that? What made you want to do Mighty Real?
Well, first of all, hearing the it factor come from you is a joy. Okay, the
Aww.
sweet Georgia Brown, baby. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. It's a blessing. What made me create Mighty Real? So, okay, it was 2010. I just moved to New York from touring with Chorus Line and Color Purple, the equity tours of those shows. And I knew I wanted to be on Broadway. In order to do that, I had to live in New York. So I was sitting in New York. I was doing little shows, not little, but I was doing some concert shows at the Triad with a couple of people, and I was doing just an event, this thing called Just a Piano Concert Series with Lee Summers.
Lee Summers.
And so when I was there, I got the idea of putting a structure of a show together. So I had two shows that I had did on my own, where I took songs that I knew, songs that I loved, and kind of told my story from Norfolk, Virginia, all the way up until Broadway, coming to New York. And I already had a set type of structure of how I thought a show could be, and so taking songs and putting them in between. So it's 2010. I'm sitting in my apartment, in my friend's apartment, and I'm watching Unsung on TV One. And I see a performance and a feature of Sylvester called Unsung. And it was just amazing to see his resilience, his strength, to see his motivation, to see his prowess, and to hear those songs. That I've always sang high in that range, even singing Richie stuff, even singing stuff from other shows as well. But I said to myself, I was talking to a gentleman named Trent Armand Kendall. And Trent had written shows and stuff. He's passed now, but he's written shows. And I remember being inspired to know that you could write your own show from seeing him write his own shows. So I started taking his music or Sylvester's music and started putting it together with his life story, because I was telling Trent, somebody should do a musical or a show about his life or something. And it was as if like, well, why can't it be you? And so he kind of inspired that in me. And so by this point, I met my producing partner who helped me create the show. His name is Kendrell. Met in about 2011. And by that point, I had already kind of written structure for how I thought a concert night of the show should be from what I did the Triad. And so I was trying to figure it out. And by this point, I had got onto Anything Goes on Broadway and just trying to figure out that world. And then Kendra had heard me sing at a town hall. And one of the singers, Chris Jackson, he couldn't sing, he couldn't make it. So they needed a singer to replace him. So I went in and I sang. And after the show, Kendra was like, you really, really need to take this seriously if you want to be seen in a stronger way than just the ensemble. So he saw me trying to put the music together and trying to put the show together and trying to write it out. He was like, maybe we could figure out some kind of way to really put this up on its feet. And so from that connection and that combination, that's kind of how it really
came about.
Came alive. Yeah, from an idea, from a process, to performance.
But
and
also,
then
But also, too, you knew just from hearing Sylvester that you had that in your voice to be able to pay tribute to him, to do his life story, and be able to do it authentically. Because if you don't have that kind of range to be able to go up there, that kind of falsetto, you could never have pulled that out, to pull that off. And your range, especially up there, it's strong. It's very, very strong, and it's very dynamic. Sometimes when you hear someone do a depiction of someone else's life, especially another singer, and if they're not really pulling that shit off, you kind of say, "Oh Lord, you're wishing for the original."
Yeah.
Lord, would you sit down so I could hear the original?
Right, I might as well play my iPod. But yes,
that's it. But you know what? In hearing you and watching you perform, no one could ever have a thought like that, because from the moment, and this is for all of you listening, all of you performers listening, young and older, from the moment you take the stage, remember those words, take the stage. You have to own it.
Period.
You have to own it, period. And that's what you do in that show. And that's what you do. And I've not seen you in a couple of the other shows, but I'm sure that every time, whether you were doing ensemble or not, and this is the point I'm trying to get over across here to these people who are watching. No matter what you're doing, when you come into show business, hopefully you will love it. And then learn it to the best of your ability, that when you go on stage, you are committed. Speak on that. Speak on that.
Looking back on it in hindsight, it's so, I'm so blessed to be here right now and blessed to be speaking to you about this, because I think I would have told myself different things back then. Truth be told, I think sometimes you don't know a lot of things about yourself. And us as performers, when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was just be on stage. I just wanted to perform. I didn't care who was on stage with me. I just wanted to be on the stage. And we get so caught up in the validation of this that we forget to take care of the growth of ourselves. As I started to get older, I didn't understand that I was free in the world of theater, but, I didn't understand that I wasn't equal. You know what I mean? Like, meaning in the world, you find yourself understanding that you're not equal because of racism. However, on stage in theater, it's still the same way, but it's covered up because you're still doing stuff together as a unit. And so it wasn't until I started doing Mighty Real where I felt the distance, and I felt the loneliness, and I felt the sadness of why haven't I made the time to learn me? Because for so long, I was doing so much for other people. I was auditioning for other people. I was looking for this for behind the table. I was trying to get it to this show and to this show, trying to meet these people and all this other stuff. That if you don't make the time to learn yourself, how are you going to be full within the character to bring forward? And so with Mighty Real, there was a lot of times where I was so engrossed in Sylvester's story, so engrossed in his life and the joy that is him, that I when I got off stage, But when I was alone, even with my partner at the time, I still didn't feel complete. It
Well,
was weird.
okay.
I felt complete on the stage, but I didn't feel complete by myself. So that was a journey in itself.
Okay. I want you to expound on that a bit. Explain to me more in detail when you say that you didn't feel complete. You mean complete as an artist or complete as a man? What do you mean?
I think the journey of being complete as an artist is consistent because we're always trying to be better than where we are. I think we're always trying to pay attention to what the weaknesses are so that we can make them stronger, so that we can be better than where we are. I think for myself as a man, it was kind of difficult because I'm a man who happens to, like other men. So it's like I was figuring that world out, as well as trying to understand how to be in a relationship and be fully myself, to give and to learn and to grow, and to be able to pour into him as much as he's pouring into me, and try to figure that out. But I haven't made the time because I was always on stage working and doing stuff. So you're always trying to figure out what that is. And so Mighty Real really changed my life in a way where I was laid upon, a responsibility was laid upon my shoulders of his story. However, I did not understand the capacity of what I was stepping into. I kind of call it
explain that. When you say you mean the immensity of producing a show and yet starring in it and directing yourself?
That was part of it too. Yes, all of that stuff. I call it colors and numbers, right?
Yes.
So us as actors and artists, we learn through colors, and we learn through what we see. However, there's another side of it where people speak numbers, and it's like very black and white. It's very cut and dry. It's very yes or no, this or that is going, and so going from an artist where I see gray and to going to straight seeing black and white was very difficult because I had to learn the business. I had to learn the truth. I had to understand what people needed. And there were times where I was on stage performing where I was supposed to be in the colors of it, but I'm looking at the set. I mean, I'm not the set, but I'm looking at the audience and I see a seat not sold. And I'm thinking about, come
on now, really?
Yes, there were times I was thinking about how much more money did I need now to take care of the light that I'm renting that I have to go get from the U-Haul to get across the street from the PRG. It's like those things were all in my head. And then, I know, right? It's crazy to think, but there were times where I was trying to figure out, after time, the business side of it, and I started getting engrossed in that. Then we were going to Atlanta, we were going to DC, we were going to Philly, and which was a joy. But then there was a part of it where I would literally get off stage and I'm writing checks or I'm trying to close out stuff. And so that's why people have managers and agents and all those things, but we couldn't afford that. So we're trying to figure it out ourselves. So it was just a lot of work of doing that. But I mean, I learned a lot because I'm quite a businessman now, but I had to start learning how to do things myself.
That's the producing side of it, because I have been a producer and I said, I'm never going to do this again. I'm quite, because it's a whole nother beast.
For sure.
It is a whole nother beast.
But I was going to say that the responsibility that I was talking about earlier was more, when I went to San Francisco and when I went to other cities, and then just to experience the joy that people felt knowing Sylvester, knowing his life, having danced with him, having been with him, having done drugs with him, having experiences with him, and they're giving you so much energy and you're taking all this stuff in. And yes. I think as a lead and as a principal, there's a certain set of responsibility that you have that the ensemble doesn't have, that the band doesn't have. But you have to make sure, and this is what I was trying to get to, you have to make sure to take care of yourself. Yes. Make sure to take care of your heart. Make sure to take care of your space. And so I've learned to create very healthy boundaries for myself as well as others around me, so I can make sure that I'm okay. Because if I'm okay, I can be okay for everybody else. And I think that's where the conversation about mental health comes in, because we're so quick to give. We're so quick to hug and to be there for everybody else and to try to make things work. And then you get to the point where it's like, I'm so tired. I don't understand. And why am I here? And there was a point where I felt like I didn't want to keep doing it after a certain point. And I love the show and I love Sylvester's story, but I didn't understand why. And the reason why is because I had to make time for Anthony. And so now it's to the point where now when I come back to the show, Anthony is full and Anthony has such depth. And so now Anthony can connect to that story that so-and-so gave me, or that joy that so-and-so gave me, or that memory that so-and-so gave me, so that now I can be full of even more of the character of Sylvester, and I can put him on, and I can do the things that you're talking about even more. And then I can take him off, and I can still be healthy and happy within myself.
But you may have felt those things, but in watching you as an audience, what we saw was total commitment, totally in that character, never leaving it from the beginning to the end. And this is what we should do as performers. And I would venture to say that even before Mighty Real, when you were doing ensemble or minor, characters in other shows, I would still venture to say that you still had that thing. When you would go on stage, you would learn that material and you would do it to the best of your ability.
I think that comes from the joy that the joy and that I just feel when I'm on stage. And I never want that to leave. And that's what I was saying, even though those things were happening in my mind, being on stage in those moments and seeing you all in the audience and just living and singing the songs back and living in the joy that you have, it was just manna from heaven. And I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, doing exactly what I was divinely set to do.
Okay, let's stop right there. I mean, the thing is, coming into this business, as I alluded to a few moments ago, you have got to want to do this, because this business is difficult, it's hard, and it's full of rejection. But when it works, there is nothing like it. I mean, the joy for me, Anthony, is the rehearsal process, learning that character, going home, trying to figure out, okay, what else, what other layers can I bring to this character? What can I do? And to me, this is the joy of being in this business and then bringing it to life on the stage in front of an audience that has paid to see a show. And it is incumbent upon each one of us as performers, whether we're doing our own show or whether we're doing a character in somebody else's show, to give that audience the best that we can. Now, for instance, when you are, say it's not Mighty Real, it's a character in another show, what is you don't have to give the entire thing, but what basically is your process for learning material?
If I'm learning a monologue or a script or a scene, I make sure I make the time to understand who that person is. Even in my Mighty Real, work, I make the time to build who that character is for me. And that's why I was saying the connection of yourself with the character. Like if the character is going through certain issues or certain situations, you figure there's things out within yourself that you can pull from so that you can bring an honesty to it and you can bring a connection to it. Now the words are just the roadmap. So you memorize it, you memorizing the words, you get the words, that's number one. And then you build the character and you understand who you're talking about. Because there are times where I watch TV or a show and there's characters that aren't saying a word, but they're saying so much. And I'm captivated by that person. Even that person is an ensemble, I don't even know who that person is. I'm like, who is that right there? Because that person is drawing me in because they're telling a story with the energy they have within them because they've done the work. And that's the point.
Ooh, Lord, stop right there, Lord. Ooh, I feel I'm going to shout now. Don't you get me to shouting up in here. Listen, you just said the operative word, work.
Uh-huh.
There is no way, ladies and gentlemen, that you can deliver on stage if you do not go home
Come
after
on.
rehearsal and
Yep.
put in the time to pick up that script, to look at the notes that you should have taken, to look at
That's
the
right.
staging that you should have taken. You got to take the time to do this. You cannot go home, and I have said this in several other conversations with directors and casting. You can't go home and think, okay, that's my time. I don't have to do anything more until tomorrow morning at 10. No. If you want to
Right.
come off on stage and be as believable as you possibly can, you have to do what Anthony just said. You have to put in the work.
You better do that work.
And you know what? The same goes, and I've said this before, when you're auditioning, you may not have the benefit of getting a script, and maybe this is a new project. So what do you have to do? You have to give that monologue, that dialogue, those lyrics a life. You have to give them a backstory. And then you have to make choices. So when you go into that room, because you don't know what that director wants, because you couldn't call him up. No, you can't call him up and say, what are you looking for? No. You have to make choices and then go in that room, even if it's opposite of what that director is looking for, and be convincing about the choice that you have made.
Exactly.
That means you have put in the time. Now, having said that, the director could turn around, and they do it all the time, and say, that was great. And let me see you do it this way. You can't be so fixed in that choice that you made till you can't change on a dime. In theater, we change on a dime.
On a
And you
dime.
have to be able to do that. Go ahead, Anthony. You can speak on it, honey. While I drink some water.
I hear that. I should have had my water too. But I hear you, because you have to be able to be adjustable. You have to be able to like an amoeba. You have to be able to mold to whatever it is that they would like you to be. However, you have to know the core of who you are. And once you know the core of who you are, you can shift and adjust anyway. That's why people are like, memorize the lines so that you can just be free to play.
Be free.
And that was the issue that I had sometimes. Even though I had written Mighty Real, I was like paraphrasing, and there would be times that Kendra, who was directing, he was like, you need to memorize the lines. I know you wrote it, but memorize the lines so that now you can still be free to live in it. And so I've taken that in different ways. Matter of fact, it's even bigger than just a monologue. It's even in a song. Like I would be whoever's watching this to take any song that you love and write it out as a monologue and be able to beat it out and score it out so you know what you're saying. Every line in a song has a period. There's a point of why you're singing the song. Let's see, when I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing, period. I wish I was home, comma, I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing, period. You have to make sense of what you're saying. It's not just about when I think, like really just coming to sounding good. Because anybody can sound good and look good.
Anybody can sound good.
And look good. But if you ain't good, you ain't good. It's like a nasty cake. It's like a cake. The cake that looks real pretty, but it tastes nasty.
But how many times have let me lift this thing up in back of me. How many times have I spoken on that? There are great singers out there. But okay, so you're a great singer, and there's great dancers that can develop their leg up to here. All that is good. But if nothing is behind that great singing, that great voice, if it's just notes coming out of your mouth, no meaning, nothing coming from within, it is absolutely meaningless.
That's why I think that's why sometimes people like Viola Davis, even Denzel, or even other actresses, they're captivating.
Yes.
Because you're looking at what's happening behind their eyes.
Yes.
But they're connected. But they connect to something within themselves that they bring forward. Because just like Ms. Vivian said, they've done the work in order to process and connect it. And so if you haven't done the work, it's like, how you gonna get the results? It's like going to the gym. Matter of fact, I'm in an acting studio called the Actors Gym, because when we're in there, we work our minds and the skills. Because how are you going? You can't just wake up in the morning and lift 150-pound weight. You know what I mean? Like, you have to work your way up to it. And that's the way it is with theater and acting and performing and things like that. That's why we're in rehearsals we're in a show Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6. No matter what we're doing, from 10 to 6, you're in rehearsal. And whatever you need to do to get to that point at the end of those 2 weeks or 3 weeks or what have you, you better have some results, because there's no way you can't have results.
But you know what? Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, there's time that is clearly, like, for instance, a director may work a certain scene with a certain actor or a group of actors, and the choreographer will do the same. And maybe you're free for a moment. Use that time. Don't just sit around the studio or get your cell phone and be texting because you think, okay, I have nothing to do. They're not working with me, so I don't have to do anything. Use that time to still work. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, the payoff will be so huge. You will, Anthony, I don't know how you feel, but I always say this. If I could be on the stage 365 days of the year, I would.
I hear that. I don't know about that, because I need to sit down.
You need to sit. No, I probably need to sit down. Okay, maybe 350. Okay.
There you go. I mean, I just turned 40, so I was like, ooh, I be feeling it now.
Yeah. Oh no, trust me, I've been feeling it. But no, it's your work ethics that you have to have. That's what we're trying to tell you, those of you who are watching, that it is about your work ethics. Tell me about your dance. How long you been dancing? When did you start?
Well, let me touch on what you had just said. I'll talk on that. The one thing I went to an event a couple of months ago, and there was a performer, and she had a set that she had did, and at the end of it, she was speaking about her Broadway career, and she was speaking about some issues that she was having with one of her children, and she left the show because she felt like she wanted to spend time with her child. And she said it was probably the best decision that she ever made, because she said, I can always make more money, but I can never make more time.
Ooh.
And when she said that, it was like church to me. And I thought to myself, wow, especially as I just turned 40 on the 30th of June. I was like, man, I do not take that for granted. I don't. And so I understood how much time we waste.
Yeah.
Not, watching TV or what. I have people call me. They say, did you see this on Netflix? You see this on Amazon Prime? I'm like, I ain't got time to watch that. Like I try to make time, but I get through one episode. I'm like, look, I'll watch it another time. It's a whole hour, and it's just whatever. But yeah. So I want to share that little jewel with you all. But I'll answer your question. Dance for me was the key. Dance was the key, because dance changed my life. When I was 5, I was in a children's theater called Center Stage, which was in Norfolk, Virginia, but a woman named Margie Day Walker, she was a singer in the 60s, and she stopped singing because she felt like God called her to teach children.
Oh, okay.
And so she started her own theater company, Center Stage Theater, children's theater. And I was one of those kids, myself, Dion Ridley, Derek Williams, who's in One Man. This is a bunch of people who are doing things now and performing. But I was blessed to learn tap and jazz and public speaking. And then all of that was the foundation. And then I get into middle school, and I'm still dancing and tapping and singing and what have you. But it wasn't until I got into high school, I did the summer program. I was in the Governor's School for the Arts in Virginia. But there was a summer program called the Governor's School for the Arts and Humanities. And a woman named Lorraine Graves was one of the dance teachers there. And she was a principal dancer at the Dance Theater of Harlem. I didn't know this at all. So we were there for 2 months in Richmond, and she whipped my behind. I mean, we had ballet 8 o'clock every day for 2 months. And I went back to school, I think my junior year, and they were like, where have you been and what have you been doing with yourself? Because I came back looking smaller, dancing better, doing the work. While everybody else during the summer while I was doing stuff and going to music parties and stuff, I was dancing. And so you come back and you're different because you've done the work. So then after that, I went to Shenandoah University and got my degree in musical theater with a minor in piano and voice. But during one of the summers, first couple of summers, I was working at Busch Gardens, which is fabulous. And then one of the summers, I was like, I want to do something different. So I went to the Ailey School. Mm-hmm. This was the summer of '01. I met some incredible people. Terrell Alvin McCraney, who won an Oscar for Moonlight, and just a bunch of other people who were in the company. Didn't even know any of this at this point, but I was just there. And it was on 61st Street. And I learned Graham. I learned Horton. Yes. I learned, just all of it. And Dunham. And she's banging that stick. Miss Sylvia Waters just banging that stick. Yep. And I'm just like leaning backwards and trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm there with Sharon Wong and Mr. DeVita and just amazing people. And I just learned so much. So that's when dance kind of became the key to get me into Broadway. Because then even after that, I ended up doing the Gus Giordano Jazz Day in Chicago.
Now, were you singing at all during this time? Or did that come later? Okay, you were singing at that time.
I was still singing. I always had a voice. I always sang. But even in college, I took opera. So it was like I was able to use different parts of my voice. I just didn't know how I was going to use it. Yeah. So it wasn't until I graduated from college and got for a tour of fame as Tyrone. And I toured and I was using different parts of my voice, trying to figure it out. That's the thing. You figure it out between those times. Like, you don't want to be equity too quick. You don't want to be on Broadway too quick. You want to learn and grow. So I traveled the country and I was just happy that my journey was the way it was.
But also, too, your dance enabled you to find out about your body. See, I tell everyone, it doesn't matter if you think you have two left feet. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you really have to be a triple threat. But let's say you do have two left feet. You should still take dance if you can, because it will teach you so much about your body. I tell my students when they come in here with monkey hands and that's this. I said, no, that's unacceptable. There needs to be energy all the way to the tips of your finger.
Come on now.
And you have to, my students are part of the college where I teach, they have to take dance. I said, let your dance influence you. There is no way your dance teacher, when you're in that class, is going to let you have your arms, I can't extend it now because you won't see my hands, where your energy stops at your wrist. Ain't no way. I don't know if any good dance teacher would let that happen, where your limp is wrist like it ain't gonna happen. So you need to bring that over into your performance as a singer. Sure. Energy, even when your arms are down at your sides, there should be energy there. There should always be a feeling, a sense of your body and who you are. Unless you plan an old lady, which would be like this, it should always be this, unless otherwise directed.
It's interesting. It connects to your confidence.
Yes.
Because I know when I come in a room, I take up a lot of space.
Ooh, Lord.
I don't take the air out of the room. I bring air into the room.
Yes.
And so I breathe life into the room and I shine my light into the room because I'm confident of who I am and the work that I've done. But it's the skills.
Yes.
The skills that I've learned over the years that will never leave. And so I tell young people, always do everything you can to acquire the skills that you need to do what you need to do, because that's where you're going to win. Anybody could dance, to kick their leg or what have you, but if you got the skills to do great work, you will always work. And so a lot of times, when you're dancing, it's coming from an honest place, but it's coming from an acting place. It's coming from a connected place. And so you have to be full in yourself. And that's why many people are intimidated by what you have. Or how you walk
honey,
in the
don't
room,
let me get even started on that, okay? Don't let me get started on that.
Or how you carry yourself, or when you walk down the street. Like, people see it. And people
Yes.
don't know how to deal with it. And so, but
Yep.
that's not your problem.
That's right. It's
You
their
know?
problem.
Yeah, it's for you to really just live in the fullness that God or universe, whatever you want to believe, has for you. And you carry it with you and you continue to let it shine and flourish and keep
Yes.
doing the work because that you never stop learning. You know, even us on Broadway, we still perform,
Yep.
but we still go to class,
Hmm.
you know, because I mean, it's
Because
like
the thing,
iron sharpens iron.
because the thing is, as you grow, please don't be hating on Susie over here and Tom over there because they doing something and you ain't doing it.
Uh huh.
Just work on your shit
Come
and get
on,
it
period.
together so that when that time comes for you, you
Mm-hmm.
are ready in every sense of the word. This whole
Come
jealousy
on.
thing drives me crazy because the thing is, Anthony, you can hate on me all you want, but if you think for 1 second that I am going to diminish what God gave me and
Come
everything that I
on.
have put into my craft to make you feel better on stage with me, you can hang that up because it ain't going to happen in a million years.
Yes.
I suggest that you work hard to try to get to where I am.
Yes, yes, there is that. But there's also there is that, but there's a sense of also connecting with those that are around you who are
Yes.
going to work with
There
you
you
so you
go.
can be a unit, you know?
Yes.
And you'll gravitate to the people who will either want to see your light shine brighter,
Or
and
who
then you'll
won't.
pay attention to the people who
Yes.
want to dim it and want to blow it out. You know,
Yes.
it's called discernment, and it's called making sure that you pay attention to those people who really are going to be there for you.
You know, Anthony, I always, when I was taking dance classes, I always stood next to the best dancers in the class because
Mm.
it was like inspiration for me. I wanted to aspire to where they were, to do what they were
Yeah.
doing. I didn't want to
Uh
stand next to somebody with whom I was dancing better than because what good was that? I want to stand next to the best. Okay, they're doing that. Okay, let me try and keep up. That's my thing.
huh.
And who I did it was a girl named Connie Brazelton, who went on to do a role in ER, and she's
Okay.
out in Hollywood and she's doing great. But back then, we were in dance classes at Frank Hatchett, and I always stood next to her, baby. That girl, she could do some jumps. She could, oh my God, she was
Yeah.
incredible to watch, and that's who I stood next to all the time,
Okay.
all the time. So listen, you have any funny stories, anything that happened to you, or something with another actor?
Another actor. I
Or
mean,
did you
I've
ever
done.
get pissed at somebody because they weren't
Oh
doing what they
yeah.
were supposed to do? No, call no names now. We ain't calling names.
Well, okay. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this story. I've told this story a couple of times, but I'll share this with you. Um, Mighty Real was opening on 45th Street, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I was 45th,
That's where I
45th
saw it.
Street. It was at the theater at St. Clemens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we opened in September of 2014. But I didn't leave Pippin, which is what the show I was on Broadway at the time. I didn't leave Pippin till like July
Okay.
or August. It was something close where I was like, I need to keep making this money until the last minute, right? And so one of my last shows, one of the producers was on stage. And in the show, there was a part where I was doing the Manson Trio, but I was also doing like this chicken part where Pippin was running around and Diane Paulus and a bunch of we had created this world
Mm-hmm.
where at the top of Act Two, where Pippin was trying to find his meaning in life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
in Cambridge, there was nothing on stage; it was just him running around. But when we got to Broadway, he changed it to him having business with the farm, So we had pigs, we had chickens, and we had like farm hands and this and the other. And we were doing all these acrobatic things, right? So it was we had made this thing where we had I was playing. Diane was like, "Okay, why don't y'all be chickens and why don't you guys be pigs?" And so we just grabbed everything and was like playing just improv. And so I had these wings and we made chickens and we were clucking and we were doing whatever. And we put it into the show. So long story short, there was a part in the show where I was this chicken. And when I would leave the stage door, it was so kind of funny because it was just the way it was set up, where I was clucking with this girl downstage center, and people remembered me for that. So I would come out the stage door and people would be like, "Oh, it's the chicken. It's the chicken." And it was cool for a while until I realized, like, I think that's kind of racist. I didn't know how to feel about it. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, I did so much in the show, but then people just remember me for the chicken. So anyway,
they remember the chicken.
Right. So fast forward to this part, I was getting ready to leave, and we were promoting the show, Mighty Real, and because Music Box was on 45th Street itself. So I was down the street, and the producer was like, I was leaving out the stage door, and I was like, "It's so good to see you. It's one of my last shows." He was like, "Oh my God." I said, "I'm going to do Mighty Real down the street." He was like, "Oh, that's really great, but you're such a great chicken."
No, no. And
I was like, I didn't know how to take that.
I wouldn't know how to take that either. Oh,
I was like, he was like, but yeah. And the way he said it was so matter of fact, like, you're so great in our show, but go ahead and do your little show down the street. That's the whole energy he was giving me. And I was just floored.
I wonder, did you think he ever saw you in the show in Mighty Real? Do you think he ever saw it?
Did he come? I think he did come, and I think he gagged because he saw the New York Times, saw my face up in there with a bunch of other people, and I think he didn't know what to say about that. But I didn't really ask him because I didn't care.
Because you didn't.
It got to the point where it was like, it doesn't matter, because I can use it for motivation. I can also, it probably even doesn't really matter because he probably doesn't even remember that story, but I remember it because it kept pushing me. So. But yeah, I remember that. And then I also remember, because before I was doing that, I was doing the show called Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And I met Jacqueline B. Arnold and Anastasia McCleskey, who became the other girls in Mighty Real. Mm-hmm. And I met them in the show. And I joined Priscilla at a time where they were about to close. You know, the theater was really big. So when audiences would come in, it really wasn't as packed. But it was still a lot of fun to do. And the energy was just sometimes not good.
Because there weren't that many people in the audience?
Well, no, because I was someone of color who was coming in to replace someone. And because I wasn't that someone, they already gave me an energy. But then because I was doing my own thing outside, it became... There was an energy that happened inside of there, except Tony Sheldon. Tony Sheldon, God bless him. I love that man. He was always a supporter. I mean, there were people in the show that were supportive, but what I'm saying is, even if you walk into a room and you feel uncomfortable and you feel like you're not supposed to be there, or people make you feel like that way, it's your responsibility to not take on that energy. And so we just kept on going and promoted the show, and it became very successful. And so we're still working on it, still doing things. So I'm excited about it. And I feel very blessed to be a part, because I know that there are some people who are working on a movie about Sylvester or a documentary or something like that, but
doesn't matter.
It doesn't, because this show that we're doing is so iconic, and I think I'm really, really prepared for whatever there is to come. So I'm excited, and I appreciate that you came, and I'm excited because I think you had Reggie on.
Yes,
sometime,
Reggie Van Lee.
And so Reggie is definitely an angel to me. He's been a blessing. And he actually saw the show when we did it at La Poisson Rouge, which was the first place in July of 2021. Mm-hmm. And I remember meeting him, and I gave him a flyer. He was like, he thought it was being shady. He always says I was being shady, but I was not being shady. I was just giving him a flyer.
You know, Reggie is a big, we're talking about Reggie Van Lee. He's a big supporter of the arts, and he's one of my best friends. And Reggie loves talent. He loves great talent. And more importantly, he loves when he sees that talent really working hard. And he will, if it's something that he likes, he will go, oh my God.
Yeah, he called. He found my number. He found the number, and I remember walking down the street. He called me and said, "Hey, I want to bring Mighty Real to DC." And I was like, "Huh?" And I never had no call like this before. We didn't know what was going to happen afterwards, and so he was, very influential in taking us to different
Yes.
places, and so I'm really grateful for him. Grateful for that. So,
Th-
but yeah, there you go.
this has been such a great conversation. You have any final words for our little young people watching?
Yeah, yeah. Don't be afraid to let your no. Don't be afraid of the loudness of your voice and the brightness of your light.
Wow.
For a long time, I was really frightened of that, thinking about what other people would think about me or thinking about how it would make other people feel. But at the end of the day, it's really more about you expressing yourself in a way that's going to be true to you, and continue to keep learning. I'm going to tell you something Ben Vereen said to me when he came to Pippin. I asked him, I said, what would you tell, a young black man, like you coming up in the ranks? He said, keep working.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand what he meant. I was like, that's all you gonna say? You know what I mean? But the truth was, he meant keep working on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
keep working on your career, keep working on your
Mm-hmm.
life, keep working to be the best and greatest you that you can be. And
That
so that's what I try to do on a daily basis, and try to share that light, and also try to bring others up with you. If you could
yes.
do something to encourage and inspire others, especially younger people who are looking up to you, do that. Also give homage to those who have come before you. I have a
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit now called Black Broadway Men that celebrates, educates, and motivates Black men in the Broadway theater community. So it's a 501(c)(3), and we have an event coming up soon. So I'm just really grateful to be able to create the platform for Black men of color to come together, because most times it's only one of us in every show.
Yes.
And so now it's up to us to really be there as brothers to support each other, and spread the word and connect in a way that's
Yes.
mentally healthy as well as emotionally healthy and physically. So,
That is such that's just wonderful advice, and I'm just going to add one more thing to it.
mhm.
Please learn the business of show business, because
Come on.
Anthony spoke on that earlier, and I was blessed too because my management was the Schiffman, Bobby Schiffman, who was a former owner of the Apollo Theater and Honey Coles. They taught me everything. Bobby taught me the business of show business, and Honey, and
Mhm.
this is while I'm going to Juilliard, so and I was quite young, didn't always understand why they making me do this and why this, and he's always telling me be on time and don't ever be late, and but I am so thankful for those lessons. So don't be an uninformed performer in this
Come on.
business. You want to know
Mhm.
the business part of it so that people will not take advantage of you. That's so important, and that's good that
Mhm.
you learned all that you could. That was not just about performing, but the business aspect of it,
Yeah,
Anthony.
and if you don't ask, you don't
You
get.
don't know? Ooh, Lord.
Uh-huh. And also I kind of touched on what Ms. Vivian said earlier too. Like when other people are doing things, even in an audition situation, or if you're in a show and there are people working, you get on the side and you watch and you listen
Watch.
and you pay
That's it.
attention, because you can learn so
So
much when
much.
in the audition, when people are learning something, you watch that choreographer. You watch the
Yep.
details that he's doing, the way he's moving his hand, the way his finger is moving, because little things like little things to get you the job, whether the hat's like this, or
Mm-hmm.
like this. Like there are different things that you can do to pay attention to see what style they're looking for, because they're probably not just looking for the step; they're looking for the style. And if you
Style,
can give
honey.
them that, it's fabulous. But just keep doing what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, Anthony, and for those of you watching, if you get a chance, if you see this show, Mighty Real, anywhere near you, starring starring this man, Anthony Wayne.
Hey.
Honey, don't walk, run. Okay, get your ticket early because you will be so blessed, so entertained. There is not one dull moment in that show, and that's not to say that everything is like this. Even when you're singing a ballad, it's the energy that exudes from you, the realness. It's all of those things that make a great performance. And I want to applaud you for also surrounding yourself with other great performers in that show. My God, the
Yeah.
band, the ladies, everybody in that show is of the highest quality.
Yeah,
Amazing.
we strive for perfection. We treat that show like it's a Broadway show because it
Yes.
is. And there's no if you treat anything that you do to the highest
Yes, to the
level,
highest.
then there's no way that you cannot be successful. And
That's right.
even singing, "You are my friend." Like I just found myself just like living
Yes.
in the story of what it meant to sing to people. Even when I'm singing, "You make me feel mighty real," you have to make sure you understand, like all of that and what means being real to yourself, what mighty real truly means, and why the person wrote it and why it still lives to this day. So,
Yes.
I'm really grateful to Miss Vivian. I'm grateful to all those that have come before because
Yes.
we
Thank
are
you.
we live in that and we continue to carry that. So, so listen to everything she says.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have been blessed today because he is just one of my favorite performers, and I know that when I see his name, I am going to be entertained, that he's not going to leave me feeling like, oh God, why didn't he do this and why didn't he do that? He is going to give me everything that
Oh
I'm
yes.
looking for. So thank you so much thank you, number one, Anthony Wayne, thank you for doing this. And to
Thank
those of you
you.
who have watched this video, thank you, and keep checking back. There's always videos, and it's always about show business. And until the next time, now don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like and tell your friends. Say bye-bye, Anthony.
Bye bye. See y'all later. God bless. Mwah.
Bye.